After all this time, I finally played Cult of the Lamb and it was disappointing. It wasn't a bad game, it was just, well, let me explain. I approached Cult of the Lamb expecting it to be a roguelite with some farming sim and colony building to supplement the meta progression. But as I kept playing minute after minute, hour after hour, I noticed that Cult of the Lamb was not the game that I thought it was. So to be blunt and to the point, the combat is pretty mediocre. It isn't bad, but it isn't great. The weapons, curses, relics, and tarot cards are just fine. The weapon being your primary attack and the curse being the secondary that consumes fervor when cast. A relic is a special ability that needs to be charged up and their tarot cards are your power-ups. There is a decent variety of it all, but none of it is that special. In fact, some of it is pretty bad. I really hated playing with the claws, and some of the curses are trash. Same with some of the relics and tarot cards. I felt you had a much higher chance of getting a bad loadout than a good one. That's kinda why I hesitated a lot to buy the additional tarot cards from the shop, because you were effectively reducing your chances of getting good cards since most of them are garbage. But sadly, that isn't the only problem with combat. I don't expect the world and I do enjoy simplicity. Cult of the Lamb did deliver on that front and I'm happy about that. The problem though is the animation and hitboxes. Unless it is a projectile, I found some of the attacks to look very two-dimensional while hitting in a 3D space. This really applied to your own attacks as some of them only have an animation attacking side to side. Some of the hitboxes are quite big as well and it got confusing. So you can clearly see I am not the biggest fan of the combat system. It was fun, but in a roguelite, I feel you need a little more. And that came in the cult building farming sim thing or whatever you call it. I haven't played many or even barely any of these types of games, so I found it amusing, but after a bit, it just got annoying. After every single run, you have to go back to your cult and make sure everyone is fed, do a sermon or ritual so everyone stays faithful, pick up poop, fix beds, collect seeds, bury bodies, and hold a button forever to collect freaking inspiration. I honestly think I spent more time in the cult than I did on the battlefield. Though I think this was a big selling point of the game and what made it really unique, I can't say that I enjoyed it a lot. I would have been happier if they dumbed it down a bit and put way more effort into the actual combat within the game. This leads me to believe this is more of a simulation game where they just added roguelite elements to the resource gathering process to make it more exciting. Hot off the heels of playing Have a Nice Death and Neon Echo, I wanted to feed myself with more addictive roguelite action. And although Cult of the Lamb has the makings of a roguelite, there was one thing that was really missing from it. And that was the motivation to keep playing. Roguelites are well known for their endless gameplay loop. After every run, you're inspired to go for another because you look forward to the next build you can play with, to do better than you did before. Cult of the Lamb provided none of that. After a failed run, you would just respawn, do stupid cult stuff, then start another run on the same stage you failed on. So I guess you could call it a very user-friendly roguelite? I could see someone wanting to do hardcore runs on it, but just imagining doing all that cult building crap every single time, I would totally just rather not. Now what came as the biggest shock to me was the fact that I was also playing the DLC. I'm super happy that the DLC was included in the base game because without it, I could only imagine how disappointed I would be. It nearly doubled the amount of playable content with major improvements to combat such as heavy attack and relics alongside other quality of life changes. It rounds it out, making it a much more complete game, so I am glad I played it. I had fun. But I can't say that I was satisfied.